reiterate something you've probably already heard or read, Community Renewal's mission statement is to partner together to make our world a home where every single child can be safe and loved. A songwriter that I really appreciate once wrote the lyric, "Love is just another word for home." And if that is true, then I believe the following description of home can give us a good understanding of what God wants for the world and what CRI is trying to accomplish. Home is patient. Home is kind. It is not where we envy. It is not where we boast. It is not run by pride. Home is not where we're rude, self-seeking, easily angered. We do not keep records of wrong at home. Our home does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. Home is where we protect, where we trust, where we hope, and where we persevere. Our home will not fail. I believe this mission statement to make our world a home resonated so deeply with me as we began walking with Community Renewal 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I guess now, because I had been given such a wonderful depiction of a love like home growing up with my parents. You're right there. I was protected, empowered, accepted. Our door was always open and our table undiscriminating. In fact, it was just last Thanksgiving that I looked around my mom's 12-seater farm-style table and realized that they were dining with the fatherless, the widow, and the enemy all at once. Their grace, wisdom, and selflessness, coupled with their deep strength in their silent service, where all are welcome as family and no one turned away, gave me a solid definition for the word home that would later mean so much to me. In college, and in a few years after, it was home for a few of us friends that we were trying to create together. In the age of young adulthood, where we are fanatical about social media but terrified to answer a knock at the door, where anything we need to learn from cooking a pot roast to planting a fruit tree can be Googled, it is incredibly easy to be unaware that we need people. But Mother Teresa said, and we love this quote at the Yellow House, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." That type of togetherness was what we were searching so desperately for just on the heels of graduating from Centenary. So in 2010, we left our isolated, gated apartments scattered about town, and 7 of us young adults searching for fuller lives and better community moved into a yellow house in the Highland neighborhood with no hot water, no central air heat, and a terrifying array of electrical wiring. All in the hopes that the fellowship of believers spoken of in Acts chapter 2 was onto something. That first year held some of our coldest, hottest, loneliest, most confusing, and most foundational moments. In 2012, we officially came alongside Mac McCarter and the Community Renewal family as the CRI Yellow House of Highland, an intentional community for young adults. Because we filled an age gap that they had yet to reach, and they offered more experience and integrity when it came to being a home, making a home, and inviting people to be a part of a home than we could ever imagine to reinvent. Last year, we felt God calling us to refine the Yellow House community to be more intricately woven into the fabric of the neighborhood in the CRI model. Starting this past June, we moved in 4 full-time interns who just stood up, who committed themselves to a minimum of 12 months within the neighborhood, where they would learn about home together and be a part of making a home for the children and the neighbors and the young adults of Highland. In order to seal the deal with this transaction, my husband Luke and I, only 7 months after we had vowed to make home together, moved into the Yellow House, into the Highland Youth Friendship House, directly 1 block south of the Yellow House as a community coordinator family. This bridged a gap between our Yellow House young adults and our neighborhood, as we began to develop and live out a lifestyle where an intern would give half of their days, 4 days a week, to teachings, book studies, learning about the foundations of community renewal, going on neighbor visits, creating events for young adults and neighbors, and serving as built-in, highly saturated volunteers, mentors, and tutors for the Highland Youth Friendship Club every day. And I can honestly and excitedly tell you that the work that our intern director, Sarah, my husband, Luke, our interns, Jesse, Alex, Sam, and Stephanie, my partner at the Kids Friendship House, Sandra, and I get to do has me lying awake in bed at night saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I may be slap dab worn out while I'm saying it, but I'm saying it. As Mac McCarter says, it is the type of work where we are the bush that burns but is not consumed. I'll share some stories with you now from our adventures in homemaking just within the past 6 months in this little experiment of love that we call the Yellow House and the Friendship House in Highland. Sam is one of our interns. He is the only male living in the boys' floor of that big leaning 3-story house on Dalzell Street. He brings protection for the front door and correction for spelling errors, along with a good dose of male input, to a daily living room filled with females. It is not a rare day when one of us girls will ask Sam a slightly emotional or silly question, to which he responds, I don't have thoughts about that because I'm a man. Sam will be taking hugs and or donations for counseling after this program. Sam let us know within the first few weeks of doing life together that he grew up much like a lot of the kids in our neighborhoods. He shares of a raising where he tried to keep his grades high and his head low until he could get out. He says when asked, why did you move into the Yellow House, that he always knew and hoped that there was more, and it seemed like this place was living it out. Sam's intelligence and compassion were being unearthed and encouraged by a mentor of his who lived in the generation of Yellow House residents just before him, so it only made sense for Sam to become part of the family. During the month of this past August, as we began praying as a community for an outstanding warrant and a fine that was on Sam's name for an unfortunate incident with a dog he didn't own escaping from a house he didn't live in. It wasn't too long after those prayers that a few calls were made to our good lawyer friend Jeff, who then bent over backwards to get Sam's court date reinstated, pay for his fine, and send him on his way to get a new license, which came in handy when Jessie, another intern's parents, felt led after some of her own story sharing to buy Sam a car, which would then get him to his new job. Sarah posted a picture of Sam with his new-to-him 4Runner around this time and commented on it. It took a village to make this happen. And that is what home is looking like at the Yellow House, where provisions are being made through wealth and time and stories that are being shared. During club one day in September, the Yellow House interns and I were leading the kids through a lesson on how everyone learns differently. We shared with our young neighbors that just because someone might have labeled you dumb doesn't mean that that is your identity. They just may learn differently. I shared a story about how my brilliant problem-solving brother Jason and my relentless parents fought a tough system of paperwork and unsupportive teachers for his dyslexia growing up. I told of his triumph and his brand new job as an electrician's assistant. See how proud I am? And we talked about various learning styles that day. That evening, one of our youth who had been in the lesson showed up at the door to share with us his embarrassing predicament, his words, of how he is in special ed, so he doesn't tell anyone. He said, they put me in there when I was younger because I don't read as fast as the other kids, I guess. I'm not stupid. I'm really smart. I just get S's on report cards, though, and the kids make fun of me. They used to make fun of me all the time, and I didn't think that I would get anywhere, so I just started stealing. Before this, and emotions at the Friendship House, I was doing really bad stuff. I'm currently on parole and have to do 32 hours of community service. but I don't have a way to get to the courthouse to check in tomorrow because someone stole my bike. And I just wanted to ask if maybe you could take me. And I also wanted to get this off of my shoulders. I didn't call anybody the 6 days I was in jail. I just sat there and I asked God to make me a better person. That's why I've been hanging out at the Yellow House, because I want to be around better people. He's now working with a tutor at the Friendship House 2 days a week to hopefully get his reading level up to literate. An intern drove him to the courthouse yesterday to turn in his official paper stating that he completed his 32 hours. And we are searching together for him a shop hand job to be making and saving money for a new bike with the skills that he's learning through his in-school career center. Alongside that, last week one of our youth's eyes began filling with tears in the middle of the lesson, and she asked if she could whisper in my ear, "I think I'm dyslexic," she said. "Can I talk to you afterwards?" She's in the 7th grade and has never told a soul that she sees words with letters that are jumbled. I felt the fire in my belly that came from the love-like home of my parents that said, when I said, "You are not dumb. You are not broken." Some of the smartest people in history were dyslexic. You see this iPhone in my hand? The man who designed it was dyslexic, arguably one of the most brilliant designers of our time. To which she wiped her face, for she had been sobbing, and agreed to go through some extra testing in the next couple of weeks to see if she qualifies for more specified modifications. And we will fight for her as my parents did for my brother, and that is what home is looking like at the Friendship House, where gaps are being filled and heavy burdens are being lightened. 3 weeks ago, my partner Sandra and I were making Tuesday morning neighbor visits when we came upon a man who didn't necessarily radiate to me, "Yes, please, I would love to be approached." He looked like he was headed somewhere and focused on his path. One of my struggles that my partner is helping to edge away with her inspiring experience over the last almost 2 decades of neighbor visits each time we go out is my notion that saying hello is an imposition. Because even if it is, refusing to say hello out of fear of imposing just only leads to the isolation that is killing our world. So of course, in all of her joy, Sandra yelled, "Hi!" Actually, Sandra yelled, "Hola!" as she thought he was Hispanic and wanted to practice her Spanish that she's been working on so diligently. He laughed and shared that he was in fact not Hispanic. And we began a very friendly, intimate, humbling conversation with our neighborhood's new resident who was looking for community and needing encouragement from God and very excited about our efforts to connect the neighbors. He agreed wholeheartedly that when we don't know each other, we're suspicious of each other. And becoming friends with one another surely makes for a safer street. He wrapped up our chat by asking, "But why? Why do you do it? Why do you approach people even if you don't know that they'll want to talk to you, even when you know they'll probably not want to talk to you, even if you know they're not safe?" And Sandra said, "Because we feel like this is what God has shown us and called us to." And he smiled and he said, "That's exactly what I was hoping to hear." And that is what home looks like on the streets of Highland, where the boundaries of race, income, and biological family are being broken down, and we become brothers and sisters a little more with every visit, every party, every investment of time and care and treasure. It is countercultural to have a welcome mat well trodden with the feet of neighborhood kids. It is countercultural to approach a stranger minding their own business with no agenda but to be friends. It is countercultural for broke 20-somethings to act like family and pool their money, space, conversations, possessions, chores, time, and love together to support one another. But when our culture wasn't working, God had a different plan for Highland, and Allendale, and Barksdale Annex, and Cedar Grove, and Queensboro, and Southern Trace, and DC, and that plan is called home. I am so utterly grateful to be a part of this work, to be poured into by this leadership, to be finding and making our world a home around my mama's kitchen table, in the house that I share with my husband and 36 6th through 12th graders, in a crooked yellow home with the most dedicated of community, in our Monday morning staff meetings where we work to be the family we're asking the world to become, and in this room with you at this very moment.